Welcome back to Salon Edition Podcast. I have a wonderful friend, Susan Greenlee-Edwards, on today. As a veteran of the cosmetology industry, she has amazing insight and a contagious personality. Hear her hair story right now. Let's jump right in.
Hey Susan, how are you?
Hey, I'm good.
Cool.
I'm good.
Well, thanks for jumping on this whole podcast thing. We are literally just getting off of an educator training in Nashville, Tennessee. So thank you for taking a little extra time before we go to the airport
A little worn out,
to chill out with me. So I actually just wanted the viewers to get to know you just a little bit. So can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am a 20-year veteran of cosmetology in the industry. I have educated for just about as long. Work behind the chair like a crazy person when I'm not teaching classes and running all over the nation, and newlywed and having a huge wedding. Yes,
That's exciting. So exciting.
Have the typical hairdresser story. I have a 19-year-old actually after all these years marrying her dad.
Whoa, that is pretty epic.
Yes.
Now, I mean, I kind of knew that, but I feel like a lot of people probably didn't, because actually when you told me this weekend, I was a little blown away, to be honest.
But
I was like, oh dang.
Yes, I acquired a 4-year-old stepdaughter, which she's precious, and I love her like my own. Yes,
so sweet.
It's a whole new world. Yeah. I've been out of the game for a really long time.
She's probably like a spitfire.
Oh, she is,
yeah,
to say the least. Yes.
Have you ever heard terrible twos were like a thing? I don't have kids, but terrible twos were like a thing. But I feel like everybody's going to the terrible 3s and 4s. Is that totally a vibe?
Well, with my daughter that's 19 or about to be, she was half ages. It was always 2.5, 3.5, 4.5. And with my stepdaughter, it's this is a whole different, there is such a thing as a COVID baby,
Yeah.
And yeah, they are totally intertwined with technology. They already know how to do so many things on the phones. And I mean, she's deleting apps and adding, and I have to watch her. Yeah, I had to put a code on so she didn't buy anything.
You're I'm just going to spend mommy's $3,000.
$3,000. Here you go. Yeah, my niece that's the same age, she literally bought herself some birthday decorations for her birthday. Yeah.
Well, I mean, at least she knows what she wants. I admire a person that knows what they want.
I do too. I do too. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting. I was making fun of all my friends who had babies in their late 30s, and I was like, I'm going to be sitting pretty on the beach, double, 2 pina coladas, and apparently the universe said, no, watch out. So here we are, and I wouldn't have it any other way. It's a lot of fun. Exhausting at times, but it's worth it.
You know what they say about tell God your plans and he'll laugh and give you something fun.
He's like, hold on, hold
hold
my communion wine,
you, please.
Hold my communion wine.
I love that. So what brought you into the hairstylist world?
Well, actually, I am originally from Southern Ohio, and I was going to college after I graduated high school for product merchandising, developing, basically textiles and things along those lines. And I had the ultimate dream of being an image consultant. And so my program had FIT involved, and the college I was going to was in Northern Ohio, and just wasn't loving it. It was a small town, and I had some family that moved down to Texas, and they pretty much kidnapped me because I was a wild child, and I had no reason to be, and I just wanted to be, and got enticed, and they were like, oh my gosh, Susan, you'll love it. It's big hair, big jewelry. And I was always the one that was just a little different than the small town that I grew up in. And instead of, even something as simple as wearing rhinestones with your prom and homecoming dresses, no, I wore turquoise, and my hair was huge, and I loved experimenting with color and makeup and just different things. And I would always everybody always told me, Susan, you have your own essence, your own style, your own, we could never get away with wearing some of the things that you wear, but somehow you make it work. And so, and I found myself doing my friend's hair. Never thought in a million years that I would ever do hair, ever.
Really? What changed?
I went down to Texas, and I was going to finish out my degree, and I was really intimidated by the size of the area that I moved to, Dallas, Fort Worth. And there was only one school that had my major And what ended up happening, it was just too far. Like this little small town girl, I couldn't handle it. It was too much.
Everything's bigger in
And
Texas.
for real. And so the highways and byways were really intimidating to me. And so I was like, you know what? I've got to do something. I can't, just work retail. Tried to be waitress. And I found out very quickly that I am, in fact, better at being waited on than being the waitress. Yes.
Good to
I
know.
still got tips though,
Yeah.
because my pleasant, bubbly personality.
Here's a
Kidding,
tip. Don't
kidding.
cross the street without looking.
Don't you do it. Yeah. So, I went because I ultimately would love to have in that time frame opened like a complete image consulting business and do something. It was my dream. And of course I was younger, didn't realize that all that went into it, but I wanted to have a complete image studio from top to bottom, from medical to, doing like med spa and plastic surgery procedures, even a dental office, and having some kind of interlinking system along with the hair, the skin, the nails, and clothing, and business empowerment for women. And somehow you could bring your children there and have this big huge vision for that. And about a year into living in Texas, I ended up going to hair school and thought, I'll do this for 5 years. I need to know how to hire people to do it well. And 20 years later,
here we are.
Here we are. That's my hair story.
Oh my God. How tired are we at this point?
Right. Yeah, excuse us.
Yeah, no, it's been like a whole twofold.
It's been wild.
Three full days.
Yeah, it's been wild.
So
wild.
our brains are on like.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
Okay, cool. Well, what drew you then to like the actual like hair extension part of your world? Because I know you are an educator.
Yes.
For Babe.
I got a really great opportunity with a color company years ago. I was a really young baby stylist eating ramen noodles. I had a young daughter. Actually found out I was pregnant during my cosmetology school stint and took a little extra time, like a lot of us do. Yeah. I had quite the social calendar. Met my daughter's dad, now husband, out in the Fort Worth stockyards, and we totally danced to some Garth Brooks and a honky tonk. Yeah. But I was in school, and it was really I want to say challenging to work after school with a person that she showed me, I thought was going to be old school, new school methods, and loved education as much as I did. And from a very, very infancy of my cosmetology career, I knew that I didn't just want to stand behind the chair. And I don't mean that disrespectfully to people that do, but I knew that I needed to be challenged in other ways. I've been public speaking since I was about 13. And I loved and craved knowledge and education, and I needed to tap into something that was going to really make my brain work in a different way, because I didn't get into the industry. I hear all these lovely stories about how much passion and they just were driven to the cosmetology industry to make a difference and make a change. And mine is sharing the knowledge versus, and I love making my clients feel good and great, but that's not my true passion. I love the colors and the aspects of like all the different options that you can take somebody from kind of drab to fab and super empowered. And I love, and that's why I kind of got into extensions. But education wise, I was a baby hairdresser, and I literally called a 1-800 number, and a lady asked me, with all of your questions, are you an educator? I said, no, I'm like 3 days, 3 minutes out of school. What do you mean? And she's like, are you interested in being an educator? And I was like, yeah, because back then you had to be 5, 10, 15 years experience before you could ever be considered as a hair educator. And so I worked for them for a long time, and kind of stepped away from them when things started shifting and changing within their, society. And I had a friend of mine that was working for a distributor, and she said, I'm telling you, as much as you like education, you like the science, you like the integrity focused approach, you don't like to use diverted products. And like, I would stop, I'm not going to use the big box brands because I refuse. Like, if you can buy it, and that was when everybody was supposedly fighting a lot of diversion. And, one of the reasons I left the company I worked for, but my friend introduced me to it, and funny enough, I don't talk to her, but I still work for Babe 15
That's
years later.
so funny.
Yes.
That's
Yes,
funny.
I know.
So, okay. So our topic today that we were
Mhm.
actually going to talk about is self-care.
Okay. Love it.
However,
Mhm.
I hope you're okay with this. I kind
Okay.
of want to divert a little bit
Let's do
because,
it.
okay, so I love the way your mind works,
Uh-huh.
and I feel like I always learn so much from you when I'm around you.
Stop.
And I've only been around you for the last probably 5 years or
Mhm.
so. So
Mhm.
this is,
Mhm.
I mean, I would still say we're new in our
Yeah.
friendship.
My
I mean,
relationship. I mean, we are cuddle buddies.
we are cuddle buddies now. It's a whole situation. But but
Mhm. Mhm.
I feel like there are certain people that I gravitate to
Mhm.
because their mind works on a different planet, and I feel like
Mhm.
that's yours, and not in a
Mhm.
bad way.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
But
out here in
even
outer space.
okay, so we landed together,
Mhm.
ironically,
Mhm.
and then we took a Uber together here. We've
Mhm.
literally slept together.
Slept together. Yes. Yes.
That's so bad.
In a sister way.
In a,
In a
yes,
sister way.
yes. Super funny. I mean, we've literally done almost
Mhm.
every. We were trying to the hip this whole weekend.
Mhm.
So being able to have even just 3 days of literally 24/7 talking to
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
your mind is psycho awesome.
Stop.
No, it really is. So this whole thing actually, we'll talk about self-care in just a few
Okay.
minutes. I
Okay.
promise we'll get there.
Okay.
But I really need to know
Yeah.
from your perspective, and you and I have talked about this, but I want our viewers and our listeners to know, what are some of the aspects of being in a professional world and the way
Mhm.
you present yourself?
Mhm.
Would you touch a little bit on that? What
Sure.
are some of the things that people really should be thinking about and doing as a hair industry professional to elevate themselves behind the chair, or an education specialist or anything like that?
Mhm.
Because I feel I don't know, I feel like our industry has gotten so lackadaisical.
Yes, in lieu of COVID especially.
Right. So do you
Right.
mind talking about that a little bit, and
Not
then
at
we'll
all.
jump right into
Yeah,
all the
yeah,
other
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. No, I don't think, I mean, I am a person, and, you can call me old fashioned, you can call me, just kind of digging my heels in, but I'm still, even on, a religious side, like when I go to church, I dress for church because I feel like we're going to the house of the Lord, right?
Right.
Same thing. I mean, first impressions are everything. And I can't say I have fallen subject to in the salon not dressing like I have or was taught to.
Sure.
But I think coming in 20 years ago to the beauty industry, I was on the coattails of the old school mentality. And being raised in a small town, we were always taught to present ourselves as respectful. You're not only representing your family, you're representing your town, you're representing whatever organization you're with.
Mm-hmm.
And I've kind of taken that mentality throughout. And it was really, interesting. I worked for a color company, and they kind of had that same mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And so walking in with a presence, a confidence, even if you don't necessarily feel it on the inside, and it's not that you're not showcasing yourself,
Sure.
but just that polish. And I think that people take you more serious. I was constantly, because of the fact I got in so early with education, I was constantly having to prove myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that if I dressed a little sharper, if I presented myself in a little bit more elevated of light, and you don't have to have thousands of dollars to do it either. I mean, I did it when I was eating ramen noodles and, buying diapers for my daughter with change, right?
Yeah.
But I would, easily, you could find in today's society with Amazon and even Walmart. I will definitely check out a Walmart in a small town, because I promise you, I have found suit jackets that rival my $300 and $400 ones for
Yeah.
$25, right?
Yeah.
And I take them to the cleaners, proudly with the Walmart little logo on the inside, and people laugh at me, but it's right there with all the rest of them.
Yeah.
But just going in, clean lines, elevated. There's a time and a place. And I mean, I definitely think that I present myself a certain way, especially in business functions. I learned a long time ago that the people that don't have that division, and this is just me all the time, if I gave you my true personality, I mean, yes, I would definitely be entertaining, but but if I didn't pull it in and you didn't see the business side of Susan, it's the same thing as my clients. Unless you know me on a personal level, you probably don't know that there's a hillbilly redneck tucked deep inside of here. Okay. I will walk outside with no shoes on and, no makeup, hair's piled up on top of my head. Ask my husband, because he's like, who is this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where did she come from? and always enjoys like when I do dress up for like my classes and certain, days in the salon and things like that, because you're presenting yourself, and you can't take, that first impression away from anybody, no matter how much you try. Until you have an opportunity to sit with somebody. And I mean, for how many years did you probably think I was kind of standoffish? And I mean, I get that a lot. And it's not that I'm just quiet and I'm an observer. And, then, if we go out to, Santa's pub, that, get a
Like
couple.
there's a whole different
side.
I mean, I feel like that's the way with a lot of us, though.
But I think it's really important, because I think that we are so busy in showing that, authentic self of ours, that we forget that, like, not everybody's like that. And I feel like we should, as an industry, kind of pull in. It's not appropriate to show up to your class in a sundress. And now there's certain things, like we have the conversation, I wouldn't be opposed to, and I've gone out in public before, having like a lacy or camisole, or like a little, not onesie, not singlet. What's the word? Like a bodysuit, a bodysuit, a singlet. Shut your mouth.
I literally know I'm still stuck on onesie.
A onesie.
I was like, why can't I go to onesie?
I want to call it a onesie. But I mean, like, I've gone out with something that's more, a jumpsuit, anything. I've gone in with things that are more revealing, but throwing a blazer over top and like a really polished, clean line, like a belt with like a little gold detail to it.
Yeah.
Or, like I'm not one necessarily to go for like the neons, and that's my personality. And I think that you can be really classy and streamline and give off that together look without doing like the black, white, and gray, but that we have as a standard for our industry. But really and honestly, I mean, it's just taking the time, like, to make sure that you come in a little bit, like, keep the mask on just a little bit, keep the filter, not the mask, the filter, because you're in a position where people are looking to you for answers. They're looking to you to be kind of almost like their sensei, especially with, whatever topics that you're presenting. And I feel that, if you don't have that polished, and that, like, why would I ever believe you? Because I know as a student, I would not believe someone, or I would really dismiss quickly. And I would judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
So.
And I feel like that happens also behind the chair, like whether or not you're educating or it doesn't matter, but like behind the chair, it's like, why are we charging X amount of dollars when we look like we just literally rolled out of bed?
And I mean, I've been guilty of it. And I will say that, I definitely, think that elevating, retouching that, and being inspired to take the extra time.
Yeah.
Because like, nobody wants to take the extra time. You don't want to go to the grocery store, because why? You can order it on your phone and it'll be in your house in less than an hour.
Yep.
So I get it, but I also think that it's pushing ourselves, and maximizing your efforts will maximize your profits.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about self-care then as well, because I know that's kind of a thing for you as well, like something that interests you. So tell me your thoughts.
Yeah, I think that truly and honestly, I mean, I've done, life with not doing self-care. I've done it with, and I like a life. I like a Susan that is that has the self-care, takes the time for myself. I'm so busy and the caretaker for my family, and adding in now a husband, a stepchild, friends and other family members, that I sometimes get lost in the shuffle. It's kind of like our family and friends that getting their hair done, right? They might get their hair done, what, twice a year?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like for us, I think it's important to be a better focused business owner, to be a better family member, to be a better leader, that we have, or educator, that we have to take the time to, whether that's a massage, whether that's taking, even 5 minutes to just have quiet time, to reflect, to do a devotional, whatever strikes your fancy, doing something that you enjoy, going to the golf course, hitting some golf balls, having a drink, whatever the case. Well, I mean, we can't advocate drinking all the time. Don't do it. But, I think that it's very important getting your nails done, getting your eyelashes done, whatever it is. I mean, all of that. I think it's really important, because again, like, your your confidence, it comes from within. And if you feel good about yourself, you're going to do good.
Yeah. I think it's also comes down to like the relaxation part of it.
Yeah.
I feel like,
yeah.
I mean, I don't feel like we're in like this, like we're obviously not an ER, so we're not in this like high pressure cooker kind of situation, but we are required to be like on a lot. And I don't mean that in a very fake way. I mean that in a very like,
well, it's like when we teach classes.
We're very presented this way because we're trying to elevate the industry and because we are trying to speak professionally.
Correct.
I'm a person that doesn't date my clients, you know, like meaning I don't want to get so close
I keep
to my clients that I know everything about them. They know everything about me. I do like to keep a little like things behind the curtain, things to myself, because I do think that's important to establishing that professional relationship.
Correct.
So when I say like, you know, being on so much, I also wonder like how it is that we carry ourselves, because when we are in that situation, when we are in the salon behind the chair and everything, and we are having to be like a little more like rigid almost, and then it's like it puts such a toll on like our bodies and our spirits and like emotions and whatever. So having those self-care moments are really good for just kind of relieving a little bit of that.
Well, and I mean, I think most hairdressers, we are empaths, right? So we can sometimes some people are better than others at not absorbing and deflecting those energies. You know, I really try. I'm at a point in my career now where I only take referrals. And if I'm not one that's out on social media, like, you know, getting business, I find that just for me, not everybody, I know that's like the age of the future, but I don't want to sound like a grandma. Okay. But, you know, I really find that a lot of the times, you know, when I have gone and done marketing online, that it's usually trouble. Yeah. And I don't want to deal with them. And if I do, I'm going to charge them a whole lot. But you also attract who you are. And so I don't know what that says about me, but a lot of mine are very high maintenance and kind of troublemakers and like to ask questions. And I'm like, can you just shut it? Stop moving so I can do your hair. Love them dearly. But I think that it's really important because like with us teaching classes or being behind the chair, we are on and we don't stop. Like I can't tell you how many times I'm driving home. And I live 9 miles from my salon, but that's DFW miles. So that means like 30 minutes that I have to drive on a good day. And, you know, I have literally been in the car for at least half of my drive before I realized that I don't even have the radio on. But we are constantly storytellers, and my clients are disappointed if I don't have stories. And so, you know, I have to be very careful, and I keep, you know, and I try really hard. And some of my people, they are privileged to know a lot more than others. But, you know, yes. And so, you know, it's like I have to keep certain things. I'm not going to have, you know, my clients know every disagreement or every, you know, negative or positive thing that comes along in my life. Now, the big things, of course, there's some that they're like, okay, dish it out. So much has happened. Let me tell you what this is and this is.
And you're like, I have a whole Thanksgiving dinner ready for you.
Exactly. Let's do this. Yeah. And it's like, you know, they always tell me, you know, you are about the same price as therapy. And I walk out and I get caught up on all the things and get great hair in the meantime. So, you know, but you know, a lot of times I have to be better about, and I'm learning because my husband's a very, very private person and he doesn't like me to share all the stories. And sometimes, I get in trouble.
Well, that kind of brings up a little bit of a good point too, of like, you know, we are their like therapists, but like sometimes we also need the therapy to like kind of because we do hold so much of our clients' emotions and our like, you know, they tell us a lot more sometimes than they would even their therapist.
Oh my gosh.
You know, and so I do feel like as the so-called sponges of their world, like sometimes it's so heavy for us, and it, you know, that might be a great way to do self-care is a little bit of therapy, a little bit of
I totally
talking it out.
am all for that, and you know, having a good circle around you to be able to not dismiss it, but actually say, okay. And you're not spreading gossip. You know, we changed the name so that we protect the innocent or not so innocent most of the time. But you know, being able to just kind of, I love to talk to fellow stylists and like babe family, you know, hair extension family that we can kind of empathize with each other. And I have definitely kind of created this candy shell over top of me that every once in a while I will get like just a bleeding heart for someone that, and it doesn't mean I don't care, but I deal with so many people on a day-to-day basis. I can't absorb all of their energies and their shortcomings and travesties, because there is a
So
lot
much.
of, sadness, and there's great, amazing joys and things like that. But, when those clients come in and they are bearing their souls to you, I mean, you can't help but not feel horrible in the moment. But so I have to create that like division, and I keep a lot of my people at arm's length.
Yeah. So, if I told you name top 3 self-care things for Susan, top 3.
Ooh, okay, top 3.
I know, that
Top
narrows it down, right?
3. I would say that I am a lover of, let's see, what makes me feel the best. Of course, nails and toes always are going to just be one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say getting regular facials.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Are you like a peel person
I
and everything?
am.
Yeah,
Oh, I
yeah.
had I mean, it was raunchy, like terrifying. Like I started looking like a little old lady, and yeah, my husband was like, please never do that again. And then I came home one time after getting microneedling, my face was bright red, and he's like,
What in the world is
what have you done?
happening?
And I'm like, it's gonna make me look younger, watch. And it was amazing. But I think just doing different things outside the box, trying things, focusing on you, and doing things that actually make you happy. And today it might be microneedling. Tomorrow it might be buying a nice purse,
Yeah.
or it might be going on a vacation and just sitting on a beach and having a drink, or
Yeah.
it might be going and visiting my daughter, or just laying
Sitting
on
at
the
home.
couch.
Yeah.
Watching Netflix,
Love it.
taking a little snooze.
So how do you see like our industry changing with like kind of self-care, and let's just throw professionalism there since we talked about that as well?
Yeah. I don't know where it's going to go precisely. I mean, I'm just kind of like watching and analyzing. And like I said, I'm not super huge into social media, but I kind of have to be in, our profession. It's forever evolving, and you're going to lose your finger on the pulse, and you don't want to become irrelevant. And so it's kind of weird because I've never attended trainings where like I'm one of the older ones now. And that's a real
It's kind of
weird
scary,
feeling,
yeah.
because I've been doing this since I was 20. Well, I started school when I was 19 years old, and, started educating at 21. And so, yeah, I mean, like I was a babe.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like, oh, geez, what's going on here? But I mean, just because staying relevant, educating yourselves, I think is how you can stay up with it, and attending classes, whether that be online or in person. I think that we are seeing a recycle and a repeat, just like we always do, of
History always
different.
repeats itself.
Oh yeah, of different styles. I'm seeing people like textures coming back huge, and I love, love, love that. And big, we're gonna tease it to Jesus down there in the
Yes.
South. I mean, we're gonna do it. So I guess I'm right where I need to be in Texas with big hair. And I think that we are going to really see a shift in distributorships. I think that a lot of it is going to go direct. And so that's going to be a really interesting transition, I think, for the stylist. And I don't know how we are going to deal with like diversion. I don't know how, if that's even going to be a thing, because as a stylist that prides herself on not carrying diverted products, like that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so I'm really anxious to see what we can do, and if we can maybe like band together and
create an army.
create an army, because I mean, it's so important. I mean, like I don't like having or carrying, products that are accessible to the public just at the grocery store or at the pharmacy. I don't think that is, they're taking money out of my family's mouth. And, I stand on a really big soapbox when it comes to those things. So as far as evolution, I think it's going to be more technology based. I think that I am hoping that we come back to our cosmetology roots, where we don't outsource ourselves, and we come back to in person.
Yeah.
Like I would love to see the old school hair show days, like Vidal Sassoon, and like there's so many that it's not the tap dance and the show. And I mean, they all were showmen, but they really showed true education, things that you could take behind the chair, like,
And actually, like,
and actually,
apply it.
yeah, I don't need 14 back to back, no hair left out, foils turning, neon red. And I mean, I'm sorry, my ladies of leisure are just not going to do, those types of
Yep.
techniques. And I think they're cool, and I think that there's definitely a place for them. But I just wish we could do way more in-person education and kind of band together as an industry and really start to see, hey, we need to see each other in person.
Yeah.
And showcase the new techniques that way. As far as trends and things along those lines, like I said, texture. I'm seeing a lot of the younger stylists and beauty influencers going back to like actually coiffing their hair. I love that. So like with the heatless styles, we're seeing hot rollers, which is exciting.
I love hot rollers.
I love it.
I love hot rollers.
Oh my gosh, they're amazing.
Yeah.
Lots of curl, lots of natural. We're doing, everything looks like it grew straight off of your head, or it's like movie star hair, and I love that. So I'm excited to see where it goes and what it does.
If you could offer any piece of advice to hairstylists,
yes,
anything, what would it be?
Get a great accountant.
Yeah.
Though it is very tempting to, do it where in school, as an industry as a whole, hairdressers are always thought of to not be it's not a lucrative business, but we all know. We know what you know, what I know.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. And I would say that, now being in for 20 years, that I wish I would have known what I know now.
Yeah.
And that is to really make your money work for you. And so meaning, invest in your retirement, pay yourself like an employee, set up your business like a corporation versus an individual, because you think that you're flying under the radar and you think that you are, like avoiding paying taxes or whatever, and you want your max return, but really you need to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
And you need to be smart and educate yourself as much as you possibly can, and just be a sponge and absorb everything. Because if I would have started at 20, I would have had a pretty banging retirement if I would have known, even on my ramen noodle salary.
Yeah.
I think that, I could have been sitting in a lot better position. And also, not only that, not have to say, oh, well, look at my bank statement, not at my taxes. And, for a house, for cars, for any of that, or, well, I can give you cash.
Right. I mean, I hope that cash stays king.
Right.
Like, I really do, because I love it. But yeah, it doesn't really kind of get you anywhere in a business. So.
I mean, I guess if we lose cash, we'll always have skills to barter, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or we could go back to like the, original roots of cosmetology, and we just become dentists and like doctors.
Yeah.
I feel like I could do that.
Well, let's do it.
Yeah, I think we should.
We'll see you next time, Susan.
Thanks
Thank you
for
so
having
much.
me.
Yeah, of course. It's been a blast.
Cheersies, friends.
Cheers, friends.
Yay.
Love you.
Love you.
Thank you for listening to Salon Edition Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Salon Edition Podcast and watch these episodes on the Babe Hair Extensions YouTube channel. This podcast is hosted in part by Babe Hair Extensions, and if you are a stylist, head on over to babehairextensions.com for all of your extension needs. We'll see you next time.